Jesus here in John chapter 17 is praying, and in verse 14, he's speaking to the Father, and he's speaking about you, believe it or not. You ever thought about that? Speaking about me, speaking of believers that would come, well, those, of course, there at the time, and then he specifically mentions those who will believe in the future. And I've titled this message that we're intended to be part of the solution. And what I'm talking about is we're all very well aware of many of the challenges that we face today. Some unique challenges because of civil unrest, anarchy really in our country, the pandemic, the political environment. Just add those things basically here in 2020. I mean, I guess some of the politics have been going on for a while, but just add those things, just those things that are enough on top of normal life challenges, right? Remember when it was just normal life challenges? But I want to encourage you that doesn't really change our marching orders, right? We're still called to be faithful to what God has for us. God is bigger than all these things going on. I think it's so important to see the challenges that we face through the lens of God rather than looking at our problems and then seeing God through the lens of those problems. Because then the problems get magnified, God gets made smaller in our sight, and it can really mess things up in our minds. But if we're first looking to the Lord and realizing that He is from where our help comes from, right, and we see the things that we have to face through the power and the love of God, and through that lens we see the world and the problems associated with that, it really changes our perspective. And here in John chapter 17, I want to encourage us that God could just solve everything for us. But here there's this interesting phrase as to why He doesn't, right? He says, I've given them your word, Jesus speaking to the Father about us. I've given them your word, and the world has hated them because they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world, right? The world doesn't like a stand for righteousness. There's a lot of people today that don't really know what they stand for. In fact, they don't really stand for anything, but they know they don't want you to tell them what is right or wrong, right? They don't have a platform per se. They don't have something that they're going for in their life necessarily, but they know you better not tell me what I should do. And so there's those who really oppose any talk of absolute truth or any hint at right and wrong, especially if what they might be doing it would be considered wrong. And so there are those who don't like that, who hate that, right? And Jesus says in verse 15, He says, I do not ask that you take them out of the world. That's speaking of us. He says, I don't ask that you take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the evil one. That's a radical statement and a radical contrast, right? Because we sort of, there used to be a commercial, Calgon, take me away. It was a soap or something for a bath, and just the idea of kind of escape from reality for a little bit of time. And it's good to have time to decompress and relax. But the truth is that Jesus doesn't just take us out of problems. In fact, he says that He doesn't ask here that God would take us out of the world, but that He would keep us from the evil one. In other words, He would enable us to live life well in spite of the challenges of the world. And we can do that, right? He says, sanctify them or set them apart in the truth. Your word is truth. And that is such an important thing for us to understand. And for your sake, I consecrate myself that they may be sanctified or set apart in the truth. So we are part of the solution by marching forward in the banner of God's love, in the power of His Holy Spirit, in His truth, according to His word. And as we do that, regardless of the scale, right? We may not go out and save the whole world, but you can impact somebody, right? You can make a difference in somebody's life. And I want to encourage you that God has left you here intentionally, leaves us here intentionally. I shouldn't say leaves us, but has us here intentionally to be a part of the solution, to share the gospel, to love on other people, and to continue to be loved by Him. Hope that encourages you in the plan that God has for you, and the love that he has for you, and the fact that he is always with you. God bless you, family. Thanks so much for jumping in today. Feel free to leave a prayer request in the comments section or a praise report if you'd like, and we'd love to pray for you. Love you guys. God bless.